2013 draft, shall we? Because again, it was 10 years ago, Nathan MacKinnon was selected first overall. So we're looking right now at the number of points in order from that draft class and kind of how guys have panned out. And you can also see to the right where they were drafted overall in that draft. So we thought we'd do a little redraft, right? 10 years later, hindsight's 2020. If we knew then what we know now, how would we draft this draft class? Let's start with you, Hartsey. Number 1 overall.
You're on the clock.
Went to the Avalanche. Who should they take?
How much time do I have? I want to milk this time all the way down.
You want a timeout?
Yeah, exactly.
Nathan MacKinnon. That's easy.
That's probably it.
That's easy.
Yeah, you know what? I think we're going to move right through this.
Yeah, I don't know that we have much debate.
You know, I'll just give you a little background though on that year. Is there was a lot of discussion about Seth Jones maybe being the number 1, and Patrick Waugh was there at the time. I remember Patrick Waugh had known MacKinnon from the Quebec Junior League, and I think that was a little bit of a push as well. That ended up being the right selection. Obviously, Nathan MacKinnon leading them to a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys are on pins and needles, but I'm also going to pick MacKinnon here. We'll just throw that up.
Yeah, get it up.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, triple crown.
Yeah, so you know, at the end, now it's easy, right? But back then, again, there was a lot of discussion whether it was going to be Seth Jones or maybe someone else.
Yeah.
And so, in the end, give the Colorado Avalanche scouting staff and everybody involved full marks because they didn't miss the boat there.
No, they didn't.
All right, number 2.
We're moving right along.
Scott Hartnell, second rounder. Second pick, I should say.
Alexander Barkov.
Okay.
He's so good to watch. I know now we're fast forwarding 10 years, but just how dominant he was this playoffs, regular season. It just does it all, right? Penalty kills, power play, setting up his teammates, just controlling the puck. It's hard to get off him when he has it, so that's my number 2.
You know, and again, I'll go back to against New Jersey in 2013 at that draft, and it was either, a lot of the talk at the time was it was MacKinnon and then it was Jones, right? So Florida steps up at number 2, and they take Alexander Barkov, and again, a highly thought of player.
Yeah.
And we see that they were bang on in their selection, right? A big, strong centerman. But at that moment, he was not someone that we were 100% sure would go that high. We kind of thought it was going to be Seth Jones. In the end, I agree. Barkov will be my guy at number 2. I think you're probably along the same lines, Shane. But, you know, again, 10 years later, it's a lot clearer than it was at that time.
Yeah, and I think you can throw in, what we just witnessed, right? I mean, his leadership qualities. He's now the captain in Florida. I'm right there with you that, yes, Barkov would be my number 2 overall pick in that draft class as well. Now, this is where things kind of get interesting. Because as we saw on that list of the points totals from that draft class, I don't know what you guys were going to think. So let's go number 3 overall 10 years ago.
I have Mr. Seth Jones.
There he is.
Play with him in Columbus. He's a good puck mover. He's a great skater, a good defender. He's kind of had a 1 or 2 off seasons here for his standards. So I hope he gets back to the Seth Jones that just leading the rush, kind of jumping up, a good power play guy, and he still defends really well. Kind of on a bad team, he had an off year, but Seth Jones would be my number 3 pick.
And you see, again, a lot of people were surprised when Tampa Bay opted for Jonathan Drouin at number 3, and not Seth Jones. They ended up trading Jonathan Drouin to Montreal, getting Sergachev, a defenseman, so it worked out pretty well for them. For me, I'm going to go with Elias Lindholm at number 3, the center from the Calgary Flames. I love centers. I love defensemen. So for me, those are the kind of guys you build with. Lindholm, points-wise, he's right up near the top of the draft class, and he's a guy that can play in a lot of different situations. He had the unbelievable season 2 seasons ago now when he was with Tkachuk and Gaudreau, but I still think he, as a center iceman, he plays in a lot of different parts of the game, so I take Lindholm number 3.
I really do like your argument to build down the middle, although this is just kind of my bias. I know him, I know his family, so this guy, Jake Gensel, I think quality player, high class, and also, now
heck of a goal scorer.
Stanley Cup, no time at all, right? That first year when he made a splash in the playoffs when they won the Cup the first time, and he's gone on to prove that he doesn't just play well because he plays with Sidney Crosby. No, I think he makes Sidney Crosby better sometimes, which is kind of a crazy statement, hot take to have.
It's not always easy to play with great players, and he has been able to do it really well, so I can certainly see making a case for Jake Gensel.
Yeah, they're certainly glad that they have him in Pittsburgh, but I think if he had landed in Tampa, he would have done just fine for himself down there as well, so he'd be my number 3 pick right now. How about number 4?
I got Shea Theodore.
Okay.
6 years ago, I can't believe that Anaheim left him on the expansion lift, got snagged up by the Vegas Golden Knights, lost in the finals, and then huge part of why they won the Stanley Cup. A couple big goals, just some good playmaking, moving that puck out of their zone. And that was a sick angle there at the blue line. Head up the whole way, snipe. Just a great all-around defenseman. And my last 2 picks are defensemen because you need good D to win.
No question about that. I would agree. And you can see Seth Jones did go in that draft, number 4 to Nashville to be alongside you there with the Preds, I believe, at that time. Or was it you were already gone at that time?
He got traded for Johansson.
That's right.
So
yeah.
you were not there already. You were in Philly by that point.
Yeah.
So for me at number 4, I'm going to take Josh Morrissey, another defenseman. I just think he's really emerged. I mean, if we would have done this 2 years ago, I probably don't have Morrissey that high on the list.
Right.
But again, with 10 years of clarity now, we get to see these guys really develop.
I mean, they were calling him Josh Norrisy all year in Winnipeg.
Yeah,
Guy's great.
He was really, I thought, he really broke through this year and had an unbelievable year. And so for me, that's why he moves up my draft board some 10 years later. Defenseman, as I say, I value defensemen and centers, so Josh Morrissey for me.
I'm sure you probably don't value goalies, especially this high in the draft. And I know this is crazy, but I'm a huge fan of UC Saros. I think he's everything to the franchise. And what's kind of funny is that this number 4 pick was Nashville's anyway. They obviously went with Seth Jones, but they got Saros anyway.
That's right.
I'm saying now, knowing what we know, he could have gone 4th overall with how important he has become to that franchise. That's my
last couple of years, he has been the biggest reason why they've been able to stay in the mix.
Yeah.
Really. And when he got hurt 2 seasons ago, you saw what happened in the playoffs. Colorado just steamrolled them because they didn't have Saros. So, hey, you need a goalie.
Yeah, so maybe not 4th overall, but if I were GM,
can't argue.
Knows?
Can't argue.
You build your franchise around goalies too.
Well,
right?
eventually, you need them.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're getting to number 5.
Number 5.
What do you have?
UC Saros.
Oh, good.
Look at that.
I don't look so ridiculous.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
And I played with him when Pekka Rinne was the man, and UC Saros was kind of being. That was his idol. That's his mentor. And when you look up to a guy like Pekka Rinne and follow his footsteps, you're doing everything right. And then, not that he stole the job from Pekka there, kind of went towards Pekka's retirement. He just has all the intangibles, the speed, the quickness. Even though he's not a small guy, he looks big in the net. And just, shooting on him in practice, it was harder to score on Juice rather than Pekka Rinne for some reason. So I love the guy, and hopefully he can win a Stanley Cup and have some good years.
Both you guys make a great case for UC Saros.
Well, what's funny is,
especially
the draft, though, there's no way they would have taken him that high because of his size, right? And this was still 10 years ago. No one was thinking of small goalies as a hot commodity.
Yeah, no, for sure. So it was a good job by Nashville to find him, and have developed him into really one of the high-end goalies in this league. I didn't go in that direction, but it was still. But I mean, he was somebody I absolutely considered. But I ended up on Bo Horvat at number 5 because again, it's really for centers and D for me. And it came down to Seth Jones and Horvat. And again, if this would have been 2-3 years ago, I'm probably a no-brainer for Seth Jones. I probably haven't even higher on my list. I haven't been as excited with his play over the last couple of years, and I think Horvat, his play has improved. Now we'll see how things go with the Islanders moving forward. His numbers kind of fell off a little bit when he came from Vancouver to the Islanders, but that could be. He's in a new spot, trying to kind of find his way there. But I like his complete game, so for me, I had him at 5.
Okay, well, you said you like centers and D, so you'll probably like this pick because I went defense. Josh Morrissey.
All right.
And I don't need to reiterate the case we've already made for him, but yeah, I think, Josh Morrissey, whatever you want to go with, has cemented himself as a quality guy in this league. And again, knowing what we know now, I think he would have been a really nice fit, especially with the Carolina Hurricanes, who drafted 5th overall that year.
Yeah, and think about it for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, they've lost some defensemen over the last couple of years with departures, guys that have had to trade. And that Josh Morrissey was someone they found a little bit later in the draft. I mean, that's a great pick right there, and he's developed into a Norris Trophy-type player.
And you know what's wild? When Rick Bowness got the job, the head coach in Winnipeg called Morrissey and said, I want you to be the best defenseman on our team. I want you to take your game to the next level. And you know what he did? He did just that. He got the ice time. He was rewarded. He made it count when he was out there. You know, he had so many breakaways in 3-on-3, and you know, had an unbelievable year. So it's amazing when someone instills that confidence in you. It kind of just grows inside you, and you kind of unleash, right? And boy, was he unleashed this year.
You know, we spent a lot of time yesterday on the show talking about the mess that's happening in Winnipeg right now. But what's refreshing, and what we have to remember too, is that they have some really good pieces.
Yes,
Josh
they do.
Morrissey is the kind of guy, and I don't know him personally, but he seems like the kind of character guy that you would want to build a team around if you're going through kind of a rocky, turbulent time, and they are. So we'll see kind of what his leadership role looks like going forward in Winnipeg. But I would have had him going to Carolina at 5, and you would have had him going to Nashville at 4.
I think it's really interesting how it really broke out after the first two. We were in lockstep there, as I think most people would be. But it's interesting to see. I think there were a lot of different choices. And I think all of us, you know, let's face it, none of us could really complain. We all got good players.
If those were teams of 5, me and Jamie would win because we have a goalie.
You have a goalie.
Yeah, you.
That's
right.
Let
in a lot of goals.
Yeah,
Josh Morrissey can't play goal and defense.
You never know.
He can try.
Listen, we might ask him to do a little more.